Hi, you might be wondering, what is this thing? Yes, Thomas A. Edison written on it. Is this a glorified industrial bread box? No. This is a Pro-Technic's Ediphone that I'll be restoring over over a while. This thing I picked up at an antique store, and let's talk a little bit about it, eh? So this thing is a dictation machine. Not many people pay attention to the corporate Ediphones, but they're a whole different beast. Let me show you a little interesting things about it. So this is, as I said, it's a dictation machine. This entire machine is built so those corporate individuals can write voice memos. They called these things a voice writer because, audio wasn't very well known as it was today. It wasn't a recording, it was a writer, an audio writer. And what you'd do is you'd have a little box like this, where we'll probably get a close-up for this for you. The Ediphone speaks, you would press this button and it would start recording, and you would talk into a giant horn to get your voice on it. And you can even have a repeating button which would go back, hopefully, and go over that part you just recorded to make sure it was recorded properly. Not that you could change it, but it would repeat it for you. Now with this set down, this thing has a lovely little setup. Let me see if I can get this cover off for you, okay? So, as you see, we got a very interesting setup. Now let me get you in a little bit closer and I can show you. Now you got a closer look at the mechanism. You can see a couple important things. Here is the volume knob, which, if I'm not mistaken, it just changes based on how indented the stylus is. But let's get a little bit closer. You see this blade right here? You might think, what is this very menacing, sharp-looking object for? It's not for anything, actually. It's just an indicator. Normally there would be a piece of paper right here that would tell you how long you have on your recording. So it would start on this side at 0 minutes and go to the maximum length of the cylinder. Now let's take a closer look on the inside. Let's start on the outside. This section is probably the most important section on the machine, and the hardest to take on and off. Well, I say that, but Oh wait, that's the problem. I must move this to the side a little bit. This is where the motor is. Now this is an actual motorized one. Normally you'd have a crank on the side that would allow you to set it to speed, but I think in these corporate models they really splurged on the motor because you want completely, how should I say? You don't want any variances in your recording if you're going to go give it to another person to listen to. So, the belt works one way and it will pull it and allow this to rotate freely. By this, I mean the cylinder head. It only goes one way due to a teethed inner mechanism right here, which, let me see if I can get a better view of that for you. You see this teethed inner mechanism right here? It will only allow the tube to turn one way. So, this way and that way. Now let's look at the inner motor, because that's the real interesting part on this machine. Like any very cool old piece of technology, we have a very easy maintenance. Oh, we have some unique features on it. Of course, we have the original motor in here. And also, this thing can run on AC and DC power if you just turn this screw and get it on the right order. Now let's get a little closer if we can. So as you see, here is how the motor is controlled in speed. We have a little bit of a broken repair problem right here, but that's nothing a little glue or solder can't fix. You see, there's a button up here, this button in specific, which you can rotate to increase or lower the speed. It does that by pushing these metal-bound weights on it, either to bring it farther away from the spindle or closer to the spindle to increase speed. Now, if I can draw your attention to the other side, if I might, here is where the belt would normally go and be stretched out for, so that it can go at the proper speed. Now this just has a spring, so spring-loaded, I'll have to learn more about that as time goes on. But that's the main mechanism of these things. Of course, I'll have to check the wiring before messing with it completely. And this appears also to be the activator on this. So if you press this, or pull this as it says, it will give the motor the turn on command, I believe. But we'll figure out more about that later. All right, let me just set this down and we'll get you to a different angle. Let's think about how this thing's amplified. Let me just get this on my handheld and I can show you a little bit closer. As I said, here's the volume knob, and I believe the way it changes the volume is opening and closing this tube right here. A little bit more. So the stylus, which hopefully you can see right here, would go into the tube. Let me flick the lever to show you how. So it would lower down and it would reverberate a membrane in here to allow you to hear more fully. Well, there's no obvious amplification device as we know it, neither analog nor digital, obviously. It's all acoustic. So from the grooves on the cylinder, it would come up this tube, be reproduced, and come out this tube. Now let me show you how you get how you get sound out of this that you can hear. You would get a series of tubes. Let me show you. So this is the tube that came with my machine, which I'll need to replace if I ever want a chance in hell to hear any of these things properly. You put the tube around the reproducer's end. And that would normally continue around and go up to here. Now, here's one of the ear cups from the destroyed original set. But both these tubes would come in at the ends of these and be acoustically reproduced. These would both go into the ends right here, and you just put them up to your ears. Now, this is acoustic recording, and this is also terrible tubing that needs to be replaced, but it also has a very similar thing to something you might know today. I'm talking, of course, about the stethoscope. They use the very same principles. This would be the reproducer where it would hear the big bassy sounds of your heart and allow a doctor to hear you coming out of these tubes. And I'll probably use these sort of tubes to replace the older parts that I have today, which means they're completely replaceable as well. Now, there's only one other part I need to talk about in the machine that I haven't gone over, and that's the original belt. Let me get that out of the way. The original belt is leather stitched, and of course, broken. But with all these pieces, it'll be easy to find a replacement. Now, let's look at any other features that I have neglected to tell you. One of just the space-saving features on this thing is, of course, the front drawer. There's normally a piece of chain that will keep it from falling all the way out, but that is currently not attached properly, leading it to just fall out. But let me show you a little bit of things I can find out about this machine right now. It was by Roach and Reed. It was sold and installed by them, of course. And it was probably from the general Cleveland area, considering that I was able to acquire it. Now, let me show you the rest. Let's look at this guarantee on the inside. Maybe I can get that, even though I think this was made in the early 30s. So, the 1-year warranty is a little bit out. And of course, these two plugs. This is the mains plug, if I'm not mistaken. Oh wait, I am mistaken. This side is for the foot pedal that I have not yet shown you all of, which uses a 4-prong mechanism to control the motor. This one, on the other hand, is the mains 2-prong system, which I have to be very careful about because this entire machine is made out of metal. So, you know, You might not want to electrify the chassis if I have the chance. And that goes right up to the motor. Of course, this is what I'd be putting on it. All these things have deteriorated over time, but you'd get these standard blanks. No, I only picked up the one that doesn't have any labeling. You'd pick up a standard blank, which you'd be able to record on. And also have fared very poorly in time. This one, very crackly. This one, even worse. And this is my currently best quality wax cylinder. And it's not good by any means. Let's look a little bit closer at this foot pedal. Type E's or Type A's, depending on how you pronounce it, I assume. It has a little patent. It has universal TC to 250 volts. And of course, Thomas Edison Inc., Orange, New Jersey. Of course, it needs some repairing, if not for the only obvious fact that one of these cables aren't even attached properly. But that will be for another day. Now, that seems to be all that I have for you today. I'll be cleaning up this machine in a little while, and hopefully I'll get you an update on polishing this metal and maybe even redoing the sides, as well as if the motor even powers on to begin with. Either way, thank you for watching.